After the first two per episode of Season 3, I figured that we might as well stick to the theme of bands that broke up and then reformed better than ever. Story of the Year formed in St. Louis, Missouri, and have been around since 2000. They split in 2011, returned in 2013, and released their most recent album late in 2017. Despite being almost 2 decades into their career, the band still has a lot of surprises up their sleeves. Hell, I don't remember if their 2017 albums Wolves made the honorable mentions for my best albums of 2017, but if they didn't, I apologise, but we'll save that one for last, we've got other stuff to get through first. It's Backtracking, and this time, it's Story of the Year. We start with their debut album titled Page Avenue. Released in 2003 through Maverick Records and produced by John Feldman, Page Avenue was a pretty damn hefty debut. There was a lot that I didn't know what to expect, and not just because the album that I listened to by the band was Walls, up until this point anyway, but mostly because my first song by them was Wake Up from their third album, The Black Swan. With that in mind, and with some of the songs, I'm used to hearing an emo/pop-punk/alternative rock style, and I wasn't quite used to their more hardcore elements on this album. But I will say, it's a surprisingly welcome addition. I mean, sure, I had some tastes of that, but that was mostly from backing vocal work. Having the lead singer do it on his own was a shock to me. But a good shock, mind you. Anyway, the band plays a good mix of the genres I mentioned earlier. There's hardcore elements, pop-punk elements, soft parts, hard parts. Damn, I really underestimated how diverse and experimental emo music could get in the mid-2000s. I've talked in previous videos about how that can and should be handled, and Story of the Year handled Page Avenue in one of the best ways when it came to it. It was so well handled that the album itself became one of the first post-hardcore albums to be certified gold. Not a bad accolade by a band making their debut. Now, this album did get a re-release in 2013 to celebrate its 10-year anniversary, but I managed to find the original version and I'm glad that I did, to be honest. Also, this album featured 3 guest singers. Granted, all of them are on the same track, but still counts. Producer and Goldfinger lead vocalist John Feldman appears, and alongside him are Toby Morse of the band H2O, and Youth of Today's Ray Capo appears as well. I guess it's going for a hardcore/punk sort of style, and the band needed some good hardcore/punk singers to join. It sure seems to work, though. The album structure is solid and shows off a lot of surprises, as well as mixing all of the band genres up well enough, and it travels to enough places lyrically to fit into those styles too. Dan Marcella's vocals have a good range, with noise cancelling and a good high scream, which is hard to make sound unique during that era of hardcore music in particular, but it works. Ryan Phillips and Philip Sneed, yes, Phillips and Philip, have a good dual guitar groove with great chucks and riffs. Adam Russell's bass is pretty good too, having a good plug and play along with everything else. And Josh Will's drumming is really good, switching up the genres well and playing with some good speed and fills and timing. Standout songs include In the Shadows, Until the Day I Die, Swallow the Knife, The Great Cauldron Falling Down, and probably my favourite in Anthem of Our Dying Day, also one of the best known songs. Page Avenue was a solid debut from a hard-working band, showcasing great balance, diversity, performances, and production, and I can recommend it. Really good. Next up is their second album, In the Wake of Determination. Released in 2005, the band sticks with Maverick Records but changes producers this time, with Steve Evans taking John Feldman's place behind the booth. That's a worthwhile trade-off, as both men are fantastic at what they do, but I feel like the switch was the right call. More on that later. With this album, the band made a conscious choice to sound heavier without sacrificing what made their debut so memorable, and it works so well. It takes on more of a traditional hardcore style with some elements of alternative metal even thrown in too. We also get the first taste of some guitar solos, but once again, we'll go over that later. This album is just so good. So good. I can't think of any point in the album when I was listening to it where I wasn't bobbing my head, tapping my feet, or playing some invisible instrument with my hands in some way. That was almost a euphemism. It wasn't meant to be. But it almost was. I apologise. Anyway, this album is pretty much Page Avenue, but cranked up to 11. Everything that was good about Page Avenue, the band decided to make damn near perfect on In the Wake of Determination. Not only is the album heavier and more memorable, it's also darker lyrically, covering themes like death and drug addiction, whilst also sticking to the band's usual inspirational shtick of perseverance and overcoming obstacles. The instrumental work is freaking awesome, with choruses sounding super catchy and huge, which is also boasted by vastly improved backing vocal work, and just vocal work in general, but that's something to say for when we're winding this sucker down. The structuring is strong as hell, there's plenty of twists, but not enough that it gets predictable. There's almost a Journey song style to things at times, with surprise breakdowns, solos, choruses, and bridge changes, and it all flows so damn smoothly. Unlike the previous album, there aren't any guest stars, but after having 3 on one song, I'm kind of glad that they didn't take that route with this one. We needed more focus on the band's vocals and together, I feel, and Dan Marcella's singing is a great example of that. He expands on his range, holding notes for longer and screaming more too. Sneed and Phillips' guitar work is great, with the latter playing some great solos and the former playing some really good rhythms and grooves. Adam's bass is more pronounced, playing along more and sounding a lot cleaner, and Josh's drumming also sounds great with nifty little fills and hard-hitting grooves. Standout songs include Our Time Is Now, Meathead, Is This My Fate, He Asked Them, Take Me Back, and my favourite in Five Against the World. I know that I'm paraphrasing an earlier sentence, but everything that you'd liked about Page Avenue you love about In the Wake of Determination. Better structuring, production, performances, lyrics, backing vocals, everything comes together so effortlessly and it flows so brilliantly. I can definitely recommend it, this one. Damn awesome. We next move on to the band's third album, The Black Swan. Released in 2008, the album saw a shift to a new label change as the band left Maverick for Epitaph Records. There was a change in producers too, with John Feldman on hand to help again, along with Michael Elvis Pascat. Man, you've got to hand it the story of the year, they sure know how to pick their producers. Anyway, this album is a good follow-on from In the Wake, keeping that same style that the band explored there, but it's not as heavy instead, sounding like a good and balanced mix between their first albums, and it works well. There are more slower parts on The Black Swan, sure, but it's not a boring album at all. There's still hefty anthems and enjoyable moments, and this album also contains my first Story of the Year song in Wake Up, which is actually a pretty good song to describe Story of the Year's sound. There's a catchy chorus, great gang vocals backing it up, good breakdowns and structuring, and a badass guitar solo. That is a minor down point of this album. There aren't as many guitar solos as I would like there to be, but at the same time, I can see why. If they had created a carbon copy of In the Wake of Determination, nobody would have noticed or cared. Luckily, SOTY showed how much their experimental side can pay off for them. They do focus more on the melodic side of their melodic hardcore genre, but that's not to say that there aren't any heavy moments. Shit, I'd argue that the intro track to this album is heavier than the intro track to In the Wake. There is also a new element as we have some piano on one or two tracks, courtesy of guitarist Philip Sneed. Speaking of which, whilst they may have sounded sort of lukewarm towards most of this album's elements, the gang vocals have taken a huge stride forward. Having a softer side to things shows the band slowing down when they need to and not just blasting us with hardcore all the time, which is a good thing. See, melodic hardcore is a genre that requires a remarkable amount of restraint to pull off if you want to do it properly. Luckily, the band members all show that off in spades. Dan's vocals sound cleaner, which could be due to John Feldman's production. Still, he's got some good range and even adds some deeper screaming to his vocal style. The guitar work of Steen Phillips is great, with the solos sounding better when they pop up, even if there are fewer cases of it than with the previous album. Adam's bass once again shines well, playing greatly along with breakdowns and heavier parts, and Josh's drumming hits damn hard on this album with a nice slam on the snare especially. Standout songs include Cannonball, Wake Up, The Great Closer and Welcome to Our New War, The Antidote, and my favourite, Angel in the Swamp. The Black Swan is probably the band's cleanest sounding work, and it's definitely the easiest one to get into. I can recommend it, and it can be a great launching point if you want to try the band out for yourselves. So it's easy to get into. Just give it a shot. It's good. Next is their fourth album, The Constant. Released in 2010, the band stayed with Epitaph, but this time only Michael Elvis is on hand to help as the producer. This album is also the band's last before their first split. Well, I say the first split, they're only split so far. As well as being their last as a quintet, as this would be the band's last album with bassist Adam Russell before Philip Sneed took over on double duty. Then again, Sneed isn't a member of the band anymore, leaving them with 3 people now, so that's got to be a bit of a bummer. I mean, they didn't have to worry about being 4-piece for their next and last album, but we'll save that for later. Also, this album is the band's shortest work at 41 minutes and 42 seconds, being only 5 seconds shorter in length than their debut. See? Interesting stuff sometimes on the show. Anyway, from what I've read up about The Constant, it's the band's least well-received album. Sure, it got a positive response, but just not as positive as the previous 3 albums. Which I don't get, because I quite enjoyed this one. I guess the critics complained about the more rock-focused style and not having much hardcore in it, with less screaming and maybe only a handful of guitar solos, but the album is still a well-structured and produced piece of work, I think. And because it's not that long, any of the blemishes on it are quickly forgotten about. The band does get more experimental again, adding some symphonic stuff, and whilst having a more rock focus, there's still plenty of melodic hardcore to go around. It's just more dotted through the album as opposed to being more in your face. Some see that as a detriment, but I feel like this was the band's best move at the time. However, having said all of that, I'm slightly inclined to agree with the critics because this is probably my least favourite album by the band. Don't get me wrong, I do like it, and the necessary pull on the reins mixed with better structuring does help, and the lyrics aren't too bad, but one thing that I failed to mention when talking about The Black Swan is that there was more focus on political themes. On The Constant, there's a bit too much focus on political themes, I think. Sure, the band style does make it feel like a revolution as opposed to a boring protest, but I can't help but feel like a heavier sound would have helped. Half of the time, the band sounds like they're doing the best Rise Against impression. Not that that's a bad thing, as Rise Against are fucking great, but those guys have always had political lyrical themes balanced with the right music style. It's not really handled as well as it could have been on The Constant, and we just get a good album of something that could have been better. The band do perform well, and it's nice to hear Dan singing more. The guitar work is still good, playing stage chokers and riffs, even with the distinct lack of solos. The bass work probably sounds more potent on this album, adding more drive and bounce, and the drumming keeps improving, still going hard and slowing down when it needs to. Standout songs include 1 through 8, but that's WONTHREWATE as opposed to the numbers 1, the word through, and the number 8. By through I mean THROUGH. It's weird. Yeah. Remember a Time, To the Burial, I Am Alive, and my favourite in the closing track, Eye for an Eye. The Constant is still a good album, and I can recommend it, but there is a small balance issue with the music and lyrics being a bit too political. Still, give it a shot, and it is worth your time. It's still a really good thing. And finally, we reached their last album in Walls. Released late 2017, this is actually my first Story of the Year album, and I couldn't find anything on a producer or a label because, well, I don't think that there is a producer or a label. Upon the band's return after their split, they took to crowdfunding, and it paid off, no pun intended. The album is the band's longest at about 55 minutes, but there are some versions which contain a re-recording of the album's main single, titled Bang Bang, that clock in at just over 59 minutes, with the second version of that song having a more electronic feel to it, but we'll get more into that later. As I mentioned in the intro, I do regret not putting these guys in my 2017 honourable mentions list because Walls is so damn good. It's basically what In the Wake of Determination would sound like, but on a grander scale. The band handling the production themselves was a bold choice, but it worked, and I'm usually a fan of bands handling their own stuff anyway, so it works quite well here. Anyway, back to what I said earlier about the album sound. It's pretty big. That's what she said. Sorry, couldn't resist. There's a more epic kind of feel to things, and the electronic elements, which are few and far between, help to guide things along rather smoothly. Despite this being the band's first and last album as a quartet, it is still solidly structured and balanced, having a much better tone than The Constant did by far. But the one thing that makes this album stand out is the feeling of a concept album. The intro title track isn't even a song. We just hear someone, presumably a male, running through some woods and sounding panicked before the wolves surround him. This sort of winds up becoming a metaphor of escaping from past demons, with the wolves representing those past mistakes and the main character representing the drive to push through those mistakes. Sure, it's a looser story than most concept albums tell, but it is easy to pick up on some telltale signs here and there. The album's structuring helps build to the songs well enough that it feels like a story, and there are some lines, especially in the choruses, that hint majorly at the concept. Anyway, story or no story, this album is still really solid. It's a good return to form after the band's reunion, and it's the type of album that they had to make when they returned. Some bands don't fare too well with reunions, and some do. Story of the Year is thankfully in the latter. Dan's vocals sound better than ever, with having more range and returning to some damn good screams. The guitar work is good too, with awesome riffs and good solos. The keyboard work also provides a good background to things as well, and even adding more flourishes and probably being more pronounced on this album than previous ones. The bass is also great, sounding nice and deep and hammering things hard. And also, just huge props to Phillips Need, even though he's left the band now, for pulling triple duty with 3 instruments on this album. Just really good work there. And also, the drumming has great feels too, as Josh Walls demonstrates. Standout songs include Give Up My Heart, Bang Bang, My Home, A Part of Me, and my favourite in Miracle. Walls is a welcome return for the band with great performances, storytelling, production, and great passion put into it, and I can highly recommend it. It's pretty damn great. It's just great. It's a good album. So let's count them down, shall we? Well, just 2 of them. So most favourite is probably In the Wake of Determination. It's so damn good, and it's everything that the first album is, but way, way better. It's more memorable, heavier, better produced, and just more awesome. I do like that debut, but I like the second one more. Least favourite is The Constant. I did like the album as a whole, but the weird tonal imbalance did put me off a little bit. I still really enjoy it, and even the worst Story of the Year album is better than most other stuff. Anyway, that does about wrap it up. During my next time where I cover Canadian hardcore band Counterparts, I'm looking forward to that episode because I'm a huge fan of Counterparts. And, as always, thank you for listening. You're awesome. Bye-bye. Also, thank God the light was kind today. See ya.